for 3 weeks straight. All your jokes have been
so
about
fun for me.
Harrison Butker's wife cucking him.
Is RFK Jr.'s dad still alive? Hi, welcome to MKUSAL. We're here on Tuesday Newsday with you. MKUSAL, it's like MK Ultra, but more normal.
Of course he's still alive, Nick. Why do you think he's called Junior? Once someone dies, you're not a junior anymore. I tell you what, there are a lot of heavy. I went the weird news route this week. There's less and less weird news in the world.
Yeah.
Because the normal news has become weird.
We're we're in the midst of a I don't want to call it a global upheaval per se.
It kind of is.
There's only 2 countries left that don't have a bank under the International Monetary Fund.
And when you Googled that, oh yeah, because Syria was one of them.
Syria was one of them. They were one of the founding members, actually, which kind of surprised me.
Oh wait, Syria is in the International Monetary Fund?
I believe so.
Libya was not, right?
Libya was Gaddafi, right?
Who are the 2 countries left?
Well, one of them's probably pretty obvious.
Russia?
No?
Oh. Somalia?
No.
The United States?
North Korea.
Oh, okay.
And Cuba.
Oh,
The Vatican.
the last vestiges of freedom.
The Vatican also technically, Vatican City technically a country, but they're not involved with the IMF. Also, I learned this year the IMF is under another umbrella called the Bank of International Settlements, which is like a world central bank that manages
Central banks.
central banks.
Well, that's creepy.
Anyway, you can look into that. I thought that was...
Well, as we record, the United Healthcare assassin has been arrested and charged with murder.
I got him.
They got him. Just yesterday, I was like, he's got away. He'll get away.
You did say that. I kind of felt that way too, that he might get to Canada or Mexico or something. You know, he might get away.
Yeah, and also, I was saying he was probably an actual paid hitman. I got this all wrong. I thought he was a paid hitman. I didn't have anything tied up in it, but I just thought, you know, you roll up on a bike, you kill a guy, you get out of the state, you get out of the city.
Yeah.
I mean, he had to take like a bus, he had to go through public transport, he had to go through a bus station or a train station, and they're like, we have no idea where he is. I was just like, nah, the guy's too good. And then I thought the stuff written on the bullet casings was like what do you call it? Red herring.
Yeah.
But no, he's a rich kid.
Yep. Ivy League grad.
Well, Luigi, his parent, Luigi Maglione or something like that.
Maybe.
Ivy League grad. His parents own 2 country clubs.
Some people are saying he's gay, but I think that's just how he looks.
Dude, women are slobbering for this
Gay
guy.
dudes are slobbering over this guy too.
That makes sense.
He's not the hero we deserve, but he is the one we need right now.
He's not the hero. What do we deserve?
Oh, some guy who looks like Steve Buscemi, probably.
This guy has so much. He has so much going for him, man. This guy could have been a senator or a congressman. He was 26.
Yeah. Okay.
He could have been a congressman like this year if he wanted to run. You know what I mean? He's got shit tons of money. Ivy League educated. He's in the tech sector.
So it wasn't like he was like a poor kid whose family, all his family could probably afford healthcare.
Yes.
If they had any, unless it was like the AI stuff that was denying claims maybe. And
I did hear that he might have had something in his family that happened but I didn't hear details.
yeah. It seems like from his background, it wasn't motivated by like a personal instance necessarily. And I don't know. They found a manifesto, a handwritten manifesto.
Yes, which I would love to collect. I try to collect the manifestos of people when I get my hands on them.
Yeah.
Just keep them on my computer. There's websites where you can find the PDFs.
Yeah. It's a fascinating study to like.
I guess that's one of my hobbies.
Long walks on the beach.
Collect a manifesto.
Going to FedEx and getting copies of manifestos made.
I just like to peruse through them. I like to know what the bounds of thought are of these people, you know?
Right. You see their bias. You see
how smart they are, kind of.
Right.
Like, there was one guy, I think he might have been the New Zealand shooter. I went and found his manifesto, and I expected it to be, like, fairly complex. He was some kind of, like, eco-Nazi.
Okay.
And it wasn't really that great.
That's always... They say never meet your heroes, Dennis.
Right. So we'll see how that goes. Dude, you know what's going to be hard is finding a jury to convict this guy. I feel like.
Is that, I mean, you think it'll go to a jury trial?
He has a right to one. He's going to, of course, try to do a jury trial.
That'll be interesting. Yeah.
Now, he has no defense. I don't know what his defense is going to be. I mean, it couldn't have been more of a planned murder. I mean,
this is his defense. Come on,
they take the health care. So condolence. And I'm going to say this is controversial, but I always feel this way. Condolences to the shooter's family.
Yeah.
I mean, they've basically lost their son now.
Yep.
He'll be in prison for the rest of his life, probably. You can't have something more planned than this. It's got to be first degree.
Yeah.
I feel like if he does get convicted, like, you got to make an example out of this.
Yeah. I didn't see anything substantial about this, but I did see that Nancy Pelosi was speculated in insider trading with this company.
Oh, really?
No, like, official. This was like a wouldn't it be crazy TikTok or like Instagram reel type thing. I didn't follow up on that, but that's a motive.
Well, because the CEO was part of an insider trading thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was getting ready to come down.
Nancy Pelosi was supposedly implicated.
But Congress people can legally insider trade. Okay, well, let me back up. They can trade. They can personally trade based on what they know.
Oh, true. Yeah.
That's why. That's how they get so much money. They literally are like, "Oh yeah, I'm about ready to pass this law." It's insane. If you could wave a wand and change one law, like that wouldn't be a bad one to choose.
Yeah.
I mean, that's probably incredibly detrimental to our country, and it's been that way for, I believe, decades. It's just flat out legal to insider trade if you're in Congress. Well, anyway.
Let's get to the good news.
Let's get to the good news. We're not doing the wheel this week because there's just not a lot going on. So I tried to pick some stuff that's interesting. I'll start with this one. Are you aware, Nicholas? Okay, I'll just tell you the story. In Sweden, in 2023, their main party, the Sweden Social Democratic Party, passed a law making it illegal to arrest, detain, or prosecute a child under 15 years old for any crime. It's just last year. You can't
prosecute? Is that what you said?
Arrest, detain, or prosecute.
Ooh.
A 14-year-old
Can they question them?
can literally... Well, you have to detain them.
Well, okay.
You cannot...
You could, like, approach them and ask them questions, right? But then...
Yeah.
Okay.
But they can walk away at any time.
No prosecution, though.
This applies to literally every single kind of crime.
Any crime in Sweden.
Yes, if you're 14 or younger.
Damn.
A prosecutor in Gothenburg said we're seeing an enormous increase in young people committing serious crimes. No shit. There is a need for increased opportunities to deprive young people of their liberty. It is completely decisive for being able to combat serious crime. So literally and here's what's happening. This is the story. Here's the headline. Gangs in Sweden, apparently Sweden has gangs. I was unaware of this. I was watching stuff about this a couple hours ago. Gangs in Sweden are now recruiting 14, 13, 12-year-olds to do their hits for them. And there's literally nothing that can happen to the children. A child can walk into a McDonald's, cap you, and by Swedish law, national law, just gets to go home and sleep in bed. Now they can try to go after the adults.
The parents can be held accountable in some way.
And apparently this is happening. I don't know about that. One 14-year-old assassin walked reporters through the hiring process. In the text messages seen by the Sunday Telegraph, Fernando's handler, a member of the Sweden's Foxtrot gang, how stylish, send him tips on how to gain access to the target's apartment block and avoid getting caught. Quote, if the entrance is locked, take a stone and break it. He tells Fernando, then you do your thing. Afterwards, when you come back to the hood, you put the Kalashnikov in the same place, and then go home, shower, and wash your clothes. The calls for hits show up on social media platforms like TikTok, Snapchat, with adventurous names like Bombing Today and Who Wants to Shoot Someone in Stockholm? This is
what the fuck?
Yeah, I know. And there's some graphic examples cited of kids murdering whole families, including toddlers and infants. It's too horrible to recount here. Carlin Gottblad, a police chief in Stockholm at the National Operations Department, said, some people say they don't understand what they have done. They may not fully understood the consequences of what they have done, but if you are 14 years old and you shoot a person in the head, you understand that this man is dead. The police say the gangs are currently focusing on recruiting girls and kids with disabilities because they would arouse less suspicion from their targets. Just imagine looking through the people and seeing a troop of Girl Scouts selling cookies. You open the door for some Thin Mints and out come the knives. This was from Not to Be. This is a real story.
Wow. Okay.
So I want to see when that law was passed.
Also, what's the motive to pass a law like that?
Record number, this is from the Sweden Herald. Record number of children in court, enormous increase from 0 to 42. The number of children who are being brought to court with a summons, you have to summon them because you can't arrest them, has increased dramatically after a legislative change last year. Punishment is never an option, regardless of how serious the crime may be.
So they can like get a testimony in court to like maybe investigate adults associated with this crime? Okay,
yeah.
So like, okay. But,
So it's happened at least 42 times, probably more than that. It's so open and brazen. They're just, they're literally they're literally posting TikTok videos asking kids to go kill people. Yeah. Wow. That is some,
I'm kind of speechless about this because it's like, wait, what's that say?
Oh, wow. It's gone up. So last year when the law first went into effect, it was 10. This year it's been 42 so far, up to September 30th. 42.
Oh, okay. I still don't understand why they would pass a law that says you can't prosecute.
Arrest or prosecute for any crime. A 14-year-old, I mean, there's things people say are worse than murder. Break into an old lady's house, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Kill your sibling. Shoot up a school. Sweden. What the fuck?
Yeah.
We were just talking the other day about EU countries. So far, we got the guy who broke into people's homes in Greece and was sniffing their shoes at night, and he got probation. Then what was the other one? We had a Scotland story
Oh fuck!
where somebody did something, and that was just last week.
Oh man.
But he got like a year of supervised. Europe is out of control. We talk a lot of shit about
I mean,
our country.
Yeah, we're like no less out of control, but like people go to jail. There's like some semblance of justice.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know. There's a consequence for doing these things at least.
Well, I'm sorry for bumming you out. Trying to find that Scottish
It didn't bum
story.
me out. It's just like mind blowing. I can't understand I can't understand the motivation for passing that law. Like, what happened that was necessary or like rationalized as necessary?
It's kind of hinted to in those two articles. They say that there's an element. It's just liberalism run amok. They say there's an element of coercion when you arrest a child or try a child. It's just the idea that like.
So it's an ideological thing. It's not
It's purely ideological. I would assume that they probably use studies about like your brain and how culpable you can be for things. They just took it to the like logical extreme.
They did say like imposing on the civil liberty of the child by arresting them.
Yes.
For a crime.
I mean, in the United States, you can't constitutionally, according to the Supreme Court, I believe it's unconstitutional to the death penalty for a minor.
That makes sense.
And I believe it's unconstitutional to do the death penalty for people with certain kinds of intellectual disabilities. I think, I could be wrong on that. That could be a controversy. So it's the same kind of logic. You've just taken it all the way to the point where you can't arrest them or put them in jail.
Okay, well, that's typical of communists.
Liberalism run amok, dude. All right, you ready to move on?
Yeah, let's get to the good news.
Okay, now some good news. IHOP waitress. Uh-oh. Weren't you having Wi-Fi problems?
Yeah.
Oh, that's not going to be
Well,
good.
I had Wi-Fi problems after I typed, how many countries have central banks under the IMF?
Let me try this one more time. I might have to use my phone. I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. This proves that we are live. If you needed any. No, I thought I was all smart this week using a computer. All right. It's from USA Today. IHOP worker fired for feeding a homeless man. Says she would do it again. A woman in the Sunshine State, she says she was let go from her job over an act of kindness. On November 27th, Florida resident Victoria Hughes appeared on NBC affiliate WFLA to discuss being fired from IHOP in Lakeland, Florida, where she'd worked for 13 years. The story begins on November 24th when a homeless man walked into the restaurant and asked for food. He stated to me, the host, that he was hungry. Without a second thought, I brought him the stack of pancakes and made him a water. Hughes said she told her manager about the situation and was surprised by his response that feeding the man would cause a safety issue. Hughes said things escalated at work, and when the same man came in, this time with family, for another meal, on November 26th, her manager called and fired her. According to Hughes, when she asked him for a reason, he said company policy. Despite firing,
That was my question. Was it company policy?
she says she does not regret what she did. I need my job, but I would still do it again. I truly would. I would still help somebody if I could. If he asked for my shirt, I probably would have tried to give it to him too. Days later, an IHOP executive called her with a job offer, adding that he offered to make a healthy donation to a local charity of her choice. Good.
Wait, who?
An IHOP executive heard about it because she was in the media. The CEO of Sunshine Restaurant Partners, which owns IHOP, took immediate action to investigate the situation and have implemented training for their employees on addressing issues related to food insecurity. Part of our ongoing efforts to support those in need within our local community will continue to address food insecurity with our partnerships through Feeding America, blah, blah, blah. But Hughes says she's still mulling over whether or not she should return to her former job, taking the holiday season to spend time with her family. Why can't this lady be famous? Why can't she be hawked to a girl? And pancakes, really? It's a bunch of dough, right? I mean, it's like...
It's flour, water, oil, maybe an egg, but they probably have some pre-made mix that...
It's like the cheapest food imaginable. She gave him a glass of water and some pancakes.
It's not like...
After 13 years of loyal service...
She did say she would take her shirt off in IHOP, and that checks out.
Yes. She should head on over to Waffle House.
She would be welcomed.
Safety issue. Dude, the line in that pissed me off. Company policy is pretty bad. Safety issue.
Right.
Safety issue pisses me off because, like...
That's so fucking subversive.
It's making her sound like she made everyone unsafe by giving him pancakes. Now, I'm not saying, okay, you know what? I could understand your mom and pop business. You're a stingy bastard, and you're like, hey, stop handing out. It's not like she did it one time. There must have been a reason. Like, this dude must have looked really hungry, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could understand having a policy that's like, we don't feed people for free. We donate to here's some cards you can give somebody to send into the food pantry. We donate there. I can understand that. But just to haul off and fire her?
If that's a first time, well, I guess they can't.
They came back, but they didn't say that she was there, that they served her.
Yeah.
Essentially, the boss, the manager, or the owner of this franchise or whatever, was just like, it's a safety issue. And then saw the guy came back, and he's like, it infuriated him. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's a moral gray area, I guess. I think she's a cool person.
Yeah, it's great. They can fucking afford it.
Give
them a to-go box with some pancakes if you're worried about, don't deny them a fucking glass of water and a meal.
I agree. The guy came back with I can understand not having just the free pancakes for everybody.
Right, and if he's telling everyone else who needs help, and they all show, and then you have to turn everyone away. That's just...
Then the IHOP is like a soup kitchen.
Yeah. And
like I said, I get where they're coming from with having a policy about this.
And hygiene might be an issue for the guy. You might not have... But there's still no excuse for firing her over some fucking pancakes.
No. You train her or you tell her, look, you can't do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's absurd. Good for her. I hope she gets a podcast.
Yeah.
You want to hear about a man who fought a polar bear or a guy who almost got killed by a hamster? Huge badass or giant pussy?
Oh, man. This is a hamster guy.
Okay.
I gotta know. I have to know.
I'm pretty sure I know where this is going. Oh, he looks like someone who would die from being bit by a hamster. Google dad nearly dies after being bitten by family's pet hamster. He looks like a...
Yeah.
Here, I'll just go ahead and screenshot it for y'all. Poor guy. Daniel Halliday, 34, was left for dead after pet hamster Moki attacked him.
Left for dead?
I gotta know more. A man has experienced a terrifying moment after almost dying when his pet hamster chomped down on his hand and would not let go. Daniel Halliday, 34, from Kirby Mearside, sat down peacefully with Moki, his Syrian hamster, when she suddenly attacked him and left him for dead. He then experienced an anaphylactic shock, and moments after she bit him, Nathan's body swelled up. He couldn't breathe and was covered in hives. That's where I thought this was going. Dude's allergic. His partner, Rebecca Kidd, struggled to get Moki off him, but once she did, she thought the worst has happened and called 911, 999 over in Europe. Moki had been looking frail for the last few days before the incident, and once she had taken off Nathan, she took her last 2 breaths and died. Oh. In the ambulance, Nathan was on death's door and given 2 shots of adrenaline, antihistamines. It was absolutely horrendous, he said, especially if I had no idea a hamster bite could cause something like this. Okay, this is making me scared of hamsters. Nobody has ever heard of what happened before and amused the doctors, but they were very professional about it. All jokes aside, this experience was very, very scary. Anaphylactic shocks from hamster bites are extremely rare, but a man died from one in 2007, so it's not unheard of. Nathan said, I was exhausted for the next 2 days and my right arm couldn't stop shaking. I was definitely the dullest guy in major trauma. I did try to change the story to a scorpion, but I think the paramedics preferred hamster. Moki is now in a fancy cracker box in the garden. I don't blame her.
A proper burial.
Rest in peace, Moki. You know why she bit you? Oh, this makes me sad. Because you wasted her life in a cage. Yeah. She was like, as my dying act. She was probably just confused and scared. My dog, the night I had to put him down, bit me. But he wasn't mean. He was just trying to he was probably just scared. He was probably blind too. Then he fell asleep in my arms. But yeah, anyway, there's that story. The good news keeps rolling in.
It did say it was a Syrian hamster. I thought that was interesting.
Isn't that just, aren't all hamsters Syrian?
Well, I don't know. It's like,
I don't know.
Was it a rebel?
It just looks like a regular
Whose side
hamster.
was it on? That's what I want to know.
Looks like a normal hamster to me. Oh, there's so many different kinds of hamsters. Asiatic dwarf, winter white dwarf, Robodworsky dwarf. Why do they call them all dwarfs? Are there such a thing as giant hamsters? Hamsters, like I had a hamster. Me and my sister had matching hamsters. Oh!
What were their names?
You know what? This might be our last story. And I'm just going to tell it to you. Mine was, hers was Chewy. Or no, mine was Chewy. I know. Okay. This is the lamest. It's like naming your fish Swimmy or something.
I just thought it was funny after this story.
Oh, yeah. Oh, hers was Chewy and mine was Nosy. Yes, we were very creative children. And on like Christmas morning, I believe it was Christmas morning or the day before Christmas, my mom woke up to discover that my hamster was dead, Nosy was dead, and Chewy had eaten his head.
Oh.
Hamsters are cannibals.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So they rushed out and replaced my hamster before I could notice. They pulled one of those. And it was successful.
How long?
We had replacement Nosy for years.
Wow. Did you
for like a year or two.
When did you figure it out?
My mom told me.
How old were you when this happened?
I don't remember. I was definitely in grade school.
Okay.
Probably late grade school.
You're like, I was 27.
Well, yeah. I remember I was definitely not in high school.
Okay.
Because we lived in the old house, but so they pulled an old switcheroo on me, and then in the future, my he died again. He died.
Where did they find a pet store with a? Where did they find a pet store with a headless hamster?
Well, I need to get details on the story because I don't know where the pet store would be open on Christmas.
Yeah,
but it was around Christmas or something. They didn't want me to lose my beloved nosy. I didn't even remember his name. Dude, Hamster, to be honest, dude.
They live like 3 years or something.
And there's not a lot you can do with them. I just would pet him a little bit and watch him run his wheel. But, you know, they're not like, maybe I just wasn't, they're not loving. I had a girlfriend once who had rats.
Rats
and she
are
loved
cool.
those rats.
Because they're smart and they'll like interact with you and like.
Yeah.
I had a friend she had a rat and she would put it in her hoodie and it would just like pop out and like.
That's cute.
She'd like take it to the bars and stuff and then people would be like, what the fuck? And this rat would pop out of her shirt and like. They're cute and funny.
So here's what I had learned. Here's what I found out on. Here's what I found out on TikTok. Okay. I saw this on some viral video or whatever. Apparently, and this is freaking people out. Apparently, hamsters hibernate.
Okay.
In the wild.
Sure.
They rarely, you know, they're less likely to hibernate in the winter if they're like inside and they're in a cage and, you know, artificial light and all this stuff. But it became this like viral trend of like, did you have a hamster that you found dead or lost as a child, like in the winter?
Oh, and people were getting rid of them?
Because apparently all you have to do is like cup them, like, it takes time.
Right.
Because they're not just asleep.
They're like, oh, he's dead, and then they buried
apparently
all these
just a
hamsters
fuck
alive.
ton of people have buried and drowned their hamsters alive.
Drown? Holy fuck. Okay. They're just
people flush, you know, they do whatever you do with a dead hamster. I don't know. I was imagining flush down the toilet, but I guess maybe that doesn't make any sense. I bet some people flush their hamsters.
I mean, yeah.
But apparently there's just a shit ton of people that are mortified this year. This was like a viral trend like earlier this year. And then people were just flooding the internet with stories of like, oh my God, my hamster died in like December, November. Kind of makes me wonder too, because I feel like when mine eventually died, it was in the winter. How are you supposed to? We didn't have the internet back then.
Right.
I mean, not like we do now.
Yeah, and that's not going to be like, that's not going to be in the Encyclopedia Britannica. You couldn't, it's like not common knowledge.
No.
With or without the internet.
That's odd. I just tried to open up the last story and it sent me back to the Swedish people. Well, we'll do the man fights polar bear.
Also, what kind of crime, what kind of organized crime is going on in Sweden?
Apparently quite a bit.
Yeah, but what type?
That's a good question.
Like, fucking bootleg meatballs or like...
I'm sure drugs, like every other drugs, prostitution,
furniture
theft.
With sharp corners.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Meatball dealers. All right, we'll end on a good story. This comes out of Denver, Denver, Pennsylvania. I was like, my brain went, ugh. A couple who divorced in 1975 are set to remarry. In fact, they just got remarried yesterday.
Okay.
Faye Gable and Robert Renwick met because he was her older brother's best friend, and she said he told him he was going to marry her someday. They wed in November of 1951 and had 4 children together, but divorced in 1975. That was a 24-year marriage for reasons they declined to discuss, but eventually remarried and remained with their spouses for many years until the spouses died. However, relatives say Gable and Renwick always had a good relationship, often attended family events together, and recently they decided it was time to tie the knot again. They're like 2 teenagers in love. They do everything together. I bet that's fun for their kids to see.
Right.
He says, she was the first love of my life. I never thought I'd get her back, and now that I did, I'm not wasting any time. Weinreich turned 94 on Friday, while his once and future bride is 89. They have 14 grandchildren, 14 great-grandchildren. That's got to be interesting for the grandchildren.
Right. You don't.
They have great-grandchildren too.
You don't see a marriage in your 90s very often.
Well, you would have there's great-grandkids and grandkids who for their entire life, these two have had completely 2 separate families. Like, I know they understand, this is where I come from biologically and shit, but my grandparents were divorced when I was born, 2 of them. And if they got back together, Well, one of them is deceased, but if they got back together, you know what I mean? Like, that would be weird to me. That would be interesting. Especially the great-grandparents. Great-grandkids. Anyway, so that's a happy story, right? I did a happy one.
Yeah, that's good news.
I have an uncle who married his high school sweetheart and is, I think, at the age of 50.
Okay.
49 or 50. They both had marriages, and then they just, it's Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
For everything Facebook destroys, it has an occasional success. Oh yeah, I forgot about these.
Want to do some desk jokes?
Yeah. I'll start the jokes. You can start the birthdays.
Okay.
It's desk joke time. We didn't even... I hope you're enjoying this, chef. There's nothing I can do to change it by the time you see this. Okay. Let's start with Miller High Life. The company that owns Miller High Life has announced a new cologne called Dive Bar. It was just supposed to smell like a dive bar. Beer and cigarettes. They're also working on a perfume for women, which will, of course, be called Kisses from Uncle Russ. We crack ourselves.
I love Miller High Life. I miss it.
The champagne of beer. Also Kamala's favorite beer.
Oh, really? I hate it.
No, it's...
Okay. Third string Chiefs kicker Matthew Wright hit the game-winning field goal in the final seconds this week. He replaced Spencer Schrader, who pulled his hamstring, performing Amazonian Missionary with Harrison Butker's wife, Isabel.
It's the Harrison Butker trilogy.
Now,
For 3 weeks straight. All your jokes have been
so
about
fun for me.
Harrison Butker's wife cucking him. Speaking of cucking, cheating on your spouse in New York State is no longer a crime after they repealed a obscure 1907 law. God damn, could this year get any better for Donald Trump? He is having a good year. Okay.
Taylor Swift wrapped up her record-breaking Eras World Tour this week and also turns 35 on this Friday. When asked how she plans to celebrate, she said, "Yeah, I'm going to dump my remaining jet fuel in the Missouri River and perform missionary intercourse with my boyfriend Travis."
Nice.
She has boring sex because of who she is as a person.
She's the vanilla. Can you imagine what she sounds like in bed? She's like, "This is so good. Oh my God.
Don't stop.
Don't know." When she screams, she's like, "Ah." If you heard any of her songs
It's
lately,
just one
dude,
note,
she sings like 3 notes in a song, which I have read is like a scientific thing pop people have started to do. You want to start the birthdays?
Well, technically that was my birthday joke.
Oh, that was a birthday joke?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Taylor Swift turns whatever. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm a dumbass. Okay, here's a birthday joke. Birthdays this week. Jamie Foxx is set to turn 57 later this week, but of course not if P. Diddy has anything to say about it.
Finally, Steve Buscemi turns 67, also on the 13th. Famous for being the face of Bless Your Little Heart.
Oh, I like Steve Buscemi.
I do too. It was hard to write a mean joke about him.
There just was nobody else. The birthdays was we were like Joseph Stalin.
Dick Van Dyke, that's a fucking dead horse.
Yeah. You can't make fun of universally beloved. What was your punchline of Dick Van Dyke's original name? Was Richard
Von Muff Muncher or something. Dick Van Dyke, my favorite type of road trip outing. I don't know.
Well,
I want to bang a lesbian in a van.
good luck.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. Tune in tomorrow for Advice Wednesday, where we answer the internet's most salacious advice columns.
Pretty good at it so far, I think.
We're getting really good at it. We're becoming super judgmental. Our heads are huge.
Well, we love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow.